The trial of a Texas man who stormed the U.S. Capitol on January 6 last year has ended in a conviction on all counts. Key points: Refit was convicted on all 5 charges relating to the Capitol riot. Refit was convicted on all 5 charges relating to the Capitol riot. His teenaged son had reported him to police prior to January 6. His teenaged son had reported him to police prior to January 6. The Proud Boys leader was arrested on conspiracy charges despite not being in attendance at the riot. The victory is a milestone for federal prosecutors in the first trial among hundreds of cases arising from the riot. Guy Wesley Reffit was convicted of storming the Capitol with a holstered handgun, obstructing Congress's joint session to certify the Electoral College vote, interfering with police officers who were guarding the Capitol, and threatening his 2 teenage children if they reported him to law enforcement after the attack. Jurors deliberated for about 3 hours and convicted him on all counts. Refit, 49, did not testify at his trial, which started last Wednesday. He showed little visible reaction to the verdict, but his face was covered by a mask. Outside court, his wife Nicole said the verdict was against all American people. "You're going to be convicted on your First Amendment rights. All Americans should be wary. This fight has just begun." She said her husband was being used as an example by the government. "You are all in danger," she said. Refit's lawyer argued there was no evidence he had personally damaged property, used force, or physically harmed anybody. During the trial's closing arguments on Monday, Assistant U.S. Attorney Risa Berkower told jurors that Refit drove to Washington, D.C., intending to stop Congress from certifying President Joe Biden's electoral victory. Refit proudly lit the fire that allowed others in a mob to overwhelm Capitol Police officers near the Senate doors, the prosecutor said. Refit was not accused of entering the Capitol building. Defense attorney William Welsh said there was no evidence that Refit damaged property, used force, or physically harmed anybody. More than 750 people have been charged over the Capitol riot. Refit faced a total of 5 counts: obstruction of an official proceeding, being unlawfully present on Capitol grounds while armed with a firearm, transporting firearms during a civil disorder, interfering with law enforcement officers during a civil disorder, and obstruction of justice. He will be sentenced on June 8. He could receive 20 years in prison on the top charge alone, but he is likely to face far less time behind bars. Other rioters have already pleaded guilty. The longest sentence so far is 5 years and 3 months for Robert Palmer, a Florida man who pleaded guilty to attacking police officers at the Capitol. The riot resulted in the deaths of 5 people, including a police officer. More than 100 officers were injured. Police officer Brian Sicknick was in January 6 riot. Rioters caused more than $1 million in damage to the Capitol. The judge presiding over the trial, U.S. District Judge Dabney Friedrich, was nominated by former President Donald Trump in 2017. Jurors saw videos that captured the confrontation between a few Capitol Police officers and a mob of people, including Refit, who approached them on the west side of the Capitol. Refit was armed with a pistol in a holster on his waist, carrying zip-tie handcuffs, and wearing body armor and a helmet equipped with a video camera when he advanced on police, according to prosecutors. He retreated after an officer pepper sprayed him in the face, but he waved on other rioters who ultimately breached the building, prosecutors said. Refit did not enter the Capitol building after he was pepper sprayed during a confrontation with officers. Before the crowd advanced, Refit used a megaphone to shout at police to step aside and to urge the mob to push forward and overtake officers. Traitors get shot. Refit's 19-year-old son, Jackson, testified last Thursday that his father threatened him and his sister, then 16, after he drove home from Washington. Refit told his children they would be traitors if they reported him to authorities and said, "Traitors get shot," Jackson Refit recalled. His younger sister, Peyton, was listed as a possible government witness, but did not testify. She said she would talk more later on her own time, but kids should never be used against the parents. Jackson Reffitt used his phone to secretly record his father boasting about his role in the riot. Jackson Reffitt initially contacted the FBI on Christmas Eve, less than 2 weeks before the riot, to report concerns about his father's behavior and increasingly worrisome rhetoric. But the FBI did not respond until January 6, after the riot erupted. Proud Boys leader arrested. A leader of the far-right Proud Boys extremist group has been arrested on a conspiracy charge for his suspected role in the Capitol riot. Henry Enrique Tarrio was not there when the riot erupted. Police had arrested him in Washington 2 days prior over vandalism of a Black Lives Matter banner at a historic black church. Proud Boys leader Henry Enrique Tarrio has been arrested on conspiracy charges relating to January 6 attack. The day before the Capitol was attacked, a judge ordered Mr. Tarrio to stay out of Washington. But Mr. Tarrio did not leave town as he should have, the indictment said. Instead, he met with Oath Keepers founder and leader Elmer Stewart Rhodes and others in an underground parking garage for approximately 30 minutes. During this encounter, a participant referenced the Capitol, the indictment says. The indictment is further proof of how far the Justice Department is going in order to prosecute the leaders of extremist groups whose members are suspected to have planned and attacked the U.S. Capitol, even if they were not in attendance themselves. The latest conspiracy charge zeroes in on organized groups that plotted in advance. The new riot-related charges are among the most serious filed so far, but they are not the first of their kind. 11 members or associates of the anti-government Oath Keepers militia group, including Mr. Rhodes, have been charged with seditious conspiracy in the Capitol attack. More than 750 people have been charged with federal crimes related to the riot. More than 220 of them have pleaded guilty, mostly to misdemeanors, and more than 110 of them have been sentenced. Approximately 90 others have trial dates.